Hi, this is Candice, and I want to welcome you back to the podcast. I want to pick up where we left off. And last time, I think it was a video called Hello Out There, and the messengers were telling me how we can connect with them. How can we call them? They said by a simple thought, immediately they know that we are connecting with them. They said if we were in a group when we meditated or prayed, then that was even more powerful. So, my question to them was, what does that have to do with raising our frequencies? And this is what they said. As humans raise their vibrational frequencies, their baseline energy signals rise. As they spend more time in higher vibrations, their energy becomes finer, making it easier to penetrate the veil between the dimensions. As your earth continues to ascend, the veils between the dimensions become more accessible. Earth's evolutionary changes are leveling the playing fields, to use a human phrase. As Gaia, which is spirit of Mother Earth, approaches newer dimensional spaces, she brings her inhabitants with her. And that's something I've heard them say many times. And I always kind of have this sigh of relief. It's like, whew, we're with her too. Um, the next dimension is closer than it ever has been since the birth of your planet. That's pretty significant. When humans make choices to stay in positive, uplifting spaces, such as those found in love, gratitude, humor, and peace, their vibratory signatures become higher. They become closer to approaching the veils between our spaces. And so, my next question to them was, well, what will happen when we reach those veils? I mean, are you saying that we're getting closer to crossing over into the next dimension? That could be perceived as fearful, something scary by some of us. And then they said, magic happens as humans approach these interdimensional barriers. The humans begin to understand, truly understand, that they are more than their physical bodies. They begin to step into the mystical realms of the unseen. They step into an understanding and comprehension beyond what they knew in the earth plane. And I mean, I can attest to that. Guidance becomes clear. Paths begin to open, leading them to new adventures and journeys. This becomes a time of self-discovery as the human begins to open into the true nature of their non-physical aspect. They begin to realize they are spirits, they are souls. These realizations of their true nature are the beginnings of their new paths and their new views of life. They begin to realize they are more than what the human senses can measure. They are, for lack of a better word, immeasurable. This is unity. This is truth. This is love. Now, what happened next as these words flowed into my awareness, I found myself deep into very detailed vision. I was the observer, and I was suspended in space like a bird's eye view above a city or a town. And I saw people like floating outside of their houses, and they were moving up into the sky. I zoomed in and got a closer look, and these people were all in pajamas. You know, there's some were in nightgowns, some were in zip up, some were, it was great. But what this told me is they were asleep. They were entering their dream state. To me, it reminded me of the movie Peter Pan. You know, how, Wendy and John flew out, across the sky to Never Never Land. But I was watching, and these figures raised up, they went higher and higher in the sky, past the stars, and into what looked like the abyss of deep space. Then I saw them approach a barrier of some sort. It was hard to see. I mean, it wasn't real obvious, but it looked like a membrane that stretched actually to infinity. It was very thin and shiny. It was diaphanous, but it stopped the dreamers in their paths. In the next scene, then hundreds of dreamers had joined them, and they were all facing this barrier. Then this young woman looked to be maybe in her 30s. That's pretty young for me, and according to according to me, she stepped forward and she used her finger and she touched the barrier. When she did, there were these waves of shimmering vibrations that passed through the surface of this barrier, of this veil. She hesitated, then she smiled, and she repeated it. She touched that barrier again. Now, with her second attempt, her hand actually sank into the fabric. And I watched like her mouth just dropped open in surprise. And with this broad grin on her face, she then plunged headfirst into this curtain, this veil, and then she disappeared from my sight. Now, my vision then panned back, and I could see all the dreamers again. And one by one, they began to enter this curtain, this veil, this interdimensional veil between dimensions. And from my perspective on this side, they popped out of existence in this reality. And I'm guessing they popped into existence on this other realm beyond the veil. And the messenger really had clarified my interpretation when I was trying to figure out what it is that I was seeing and how we can use this. And what's so beautiful is, and I'm going to actually wait and share their clarification the next time, but they clarified what this interdimensional veil is and how we actually use it during sleep at night. So I'm going to stop here. Stay tuned next time as we hear the messenger's clarification of this vision that I had. So until next time, thank you so much for joining me. I was so excited about this vision. It was so real. If you like my video, please sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love for you to do that. And also be aware that I have a couple more YouTube channels. One is Spiritual Conversations with Candice and Carrie. I think we're ready to record, I think it's like episode 18. That is a program I do with Carrie Palmer. We have a lot of fun doing that. And then I just started another one that was we just recorded our first episode. And this is with Donna Rebideau. Donna has a podcast called Exploring Consciousness, and I was her guest for October. Donna, during the podcast, said, my guides have kind of pushed me to do something different. I want to do a YouTube channel with you and the Reluctant Messenger. So it's called the Reluctant Messenger Unleashed. And what we're doing is we're going through the book chapter by chapter and pulling out some of the messages, pulling out some of the visions that I've had, and we're unleashing it. We're taking a deeper dive to find out what's the truth behind some of these messages. So it's a learning experience actually for both of us, but it's certainly for me because although I receive the messages, I don't always know the truth behind it. When I go back and review these messages, more information comes in and it reveals more than what I knew at the time of the messages. So feel free to join us there, the Reluctant Messenger Unleashed. And until next time, I hope everyone has a great day, great week, great month. And remember, we are all energy beings, and how we use our energy will help define, it helps define who we are, but it also helps guide us on what path to take. Do we want to be on a path of higher vibrations where we can appreciate the world and, have a lot of gratitude? Or do we want to step into a different path that's lower? No, we don't really want to do that. So until next time, goodbye. Thank you.